심지어 스티커도 있어요. 와, 몬테카를로. ITG. 저 평소 엘리터 보면 나왔어요.
So how are you all?
Really enjoying staying
Yeah?
In Valencia.
Nice. At least the weather's been okay for you.
This is our second year.
Yeah.
Last year we also pretty much the same ritual like Wheel은 and
Yeah.
the Caffeine Machine.
Nice.
Yeah. Last year we stayed only one night in Caffeine Machine, and then it was the last night of our trip. We didn't have time to have a beer, enjoy the environment, and also there was no event on the night.
Yeah, I think Tuesday, I think tonight's going to be a strange one for you.
Yeah.
I think we've got like a primary school party.
Really? Primary school party.
So yeah, my story, crikey. So I was brought up in the Middle East. I spent a lot of time in the Middle East and then the Far East. I did Saudi Arabia, I did Qatar, and I did Malaysia. And then I found myself back in the UK. And I just fell in love with cars, mainly because of these. I wanted to be a pilot. And then the minute you have to wear glasses, you can't fly, right?
True.
Or you can't fly for the military, or you can't really fly for commercial. So I just started to love cars. Someone asked me the other day what the car was that was hanging on my wall, and legitimately I had Testarossa Countach and 959. And I had SR71, and I had Shuttle, and I had the famous shot of Steve McQueen jumping over the fence on that old matchless motorbike. I just loved them all. But because of where I lived in Warwickshire, here, like 10 miles this way when I grew up, I was very close to a lot of people that worked at Jaguar cars. So this was before Jaguar was bought by Land Rover. So I used to do, when everyone was wanting to go out and drink at 15, 16, 17, I did work experience. So for free, I'd go and work and do photocopying, I'd make tea, I'd sweep the floor. And it got me into some really interesting places as a kid. And then by the time I got to go to university, I went to study business and computing. And it was a 4-year course, and my third year was a year in industry. And I chose to go and work at Jaguar Cars at Browns Lane. And I worked in a department called dealer-facing marketing. It was really early, so this would have been 96, 95, 96, somewhere in there. So S-Type was just being launched, but they had Jaguar XK and they had Jaguar XJ, so only 2 cars. I was very, very lucky, because when I started, the sales director for the United Kingdom had just lost his driving license because he was DUI. And Petrolhead here was like, I'll drive you everywhere. So I ended up driving the sales director to every meeting in the UK, to every dealer in the UK. And my job was to sit and listen. I went back to university, I finished my course. I then phoned up Jaguar and said, look, I don't want to come back to work just yet. I feel like I need to travel. So I went to travel, and I traveled around Australia. And I drove all the way up the east coast of Melbourne, and then I came back, and then I drove all the way across the south coast of Australia, across the Nullarbor, which was phenomenal. And then ended up in Perth. It was about 9 months, 10 months in the end. And then I flew back to the UK and I got my job with Jaguar. This time I was in what's called customer affairs. So I got to understand how to deal with angry customers that, their love affair had just broken down on them. So again, really good learning of understanding customers and people. I then found it really, really weird that no one in these companies had ever sold a car. So they're very good at designing brand strategies, but no one ever stood in front of a customer and said, what's it going to take you to buy this car today? So I left Jaguar and I went to work for a local Jaguar car dealer. I really, really enjoyed it. I did about 2 years with Jaguar, and it was hard. It was a difficult car to sell back in the day, especially with BMW, Mercedes, Audi was everyone's kind of first choice. And then Audi launched that car.
All right.
And I got a phone call from the local Audi dealer saying, would you like to come and be what they called an RA advocate? Someone that's their specialism was to sell that car. So I moved to the local Audi dealer in Stratford-upon-Avon. I lasted 9 months. It was too competitive. I didn't like the trading floor stocks and shares kind of feel. Sell fast, live hard, all that sort of stuff, and I'm a bit too hippie for that. I like the slow, enjoyable thinking. I later learned that it's just the creativity in my brain. It just didn't work. I was a slow salesman. I enjoyed getting to know the customer, making sure that they bought the right car, whereas my boss just said, you need to sell that one. So yeah, I then got a phone call to say, it came back, everything you've learned selling, would you like to come back to Jaguar Cars? And we have a job for you in the Middle East, which was where I kind of wanted to go. I'd been pushing to get back home. So I found myself back in the Middle East. And I was after sales this time. But every 18 months, I got a new job. And I went from after sales to product. So I was involved in things like HST project, the big body kits on Range Rover Sport. Sounds really dull now, but back then it was cool. And then in the middle of it, I found the camera. I started to express myself by taking photos, and I started to write. And I started a website called Crank and Piston. So C for Charlie, who is my son, and P for Philip, me. So C and P, and Crank and Piston. And it was road race lifestyle. So I tracked road cars, stories that I found interesting. I followed a lot of motorsport, so I would write about interesting things. And I found a guy called Johnny Cocker who I thought was cool, so I started blogging about him. He was the youngest guy to ever win Porsche GT3 Cup. I think he won it when he was 16 years old. But he won the Asian series. So I was looking east. All of my content was coming from the east side of Dubai. But the West looked at my website, and I translated it into Arabic, so I had an English and an Arabic version. It was really, really interesting. About then that I got caught out a little bit. If you Google abandoned XJ220, you'll see pictures of a Jaguar sat on the side of the road in Qatar, in Doha. I published this article on my website, and it got me in a little bit of trouble, to the point where I was asked, close the website or leave Jaguar Cars. So I left. And then I very quickly started getting clients, because I started to find that people would ring me up and say, everything you're doing on your website, this is what you're doing, everything that's going on Instagram and YouTube, can you come and do that for us? So I started to do photography, I started to do written work, I started to do social media management. And this was all just as Facebook was launching, just as Twitter was launching. 2009, 2010, somewhere in there, really early. So yeah, I got a lot of phone calls, and I kept my website. So my website was my soul. No one could change it. I never sold any advertising on it. I never let anyone influence my content. But if you wanted a bit of my style, you could buy it. And I would give you the photography, and then you could do what you want with it. Or I'll give you the written work and you can do what you want.
Where were you located that time?
In Dubai. It's still Dubai. So I'm selling very much localized. I found myself then publishing Evo magazine as well, and publishing a little magazine called Automart, and it would sell a lot, like thousands of copies every week, because Arabic guys back then loved a little magazine. They didn't want digital, they just wanted a mag, and they'd leave it in their car, and they'd sit in their Majlis and they'd read their magazine. So I had Crank and Piston, Evo, Automart, and then I created a little production company. So we started filming YouTube for like other people, and we built this interesting agency. And then I fell out with my business partners, and I left that agency and I started another one, and it was called White Space Factory. So when everybody goes left and stands in a queue, I go right. I go the other way, always. Because if there's too many people down there, there's a reason. And if no one's that way, I want to find out why no one's gone that way. So I call it white space. And that kept the Jaguar Land Rover contract. So by this time, Jaguar and Land Rover were one company, and they were getting quite big. So I looked after all social media, all content. It was really fun. And I did Pirelli tires. I did Maserati Middle East. I did Porsche Cup Middle East. I worked with Emirates. We just did fun stuff. I had no publishing platform now, so I lost Crank and Piston. So all I was doing was white label content, or sitting as the controller of the brand that had employed me. So I looked after Pirelli. I pretended to be Pirelli, but I lived in the shadows. You know, no one knew who I was. I was just in the background, having fun. And then I found that the clock in Dubai, as it got to 8 p.m. in the evening, it was 8 a.m. in LA. So I was like, how do I get some clients in America? So I found myself with Momo, the steering wheels. And I met this interesting guy called JF Musial. And JF had a project called Drive, which was youtube.com/drive. So JF said to me, would you like to help develop and grow my digital footprint? Because they were very successful on YouTube, but they had no Facebook, they had no Instagram, they had no Twitter, they had no LinkedIn. And I was like, yeah. And it opened so many doors because he basically said, do what you want. And that led to more clients and more interesting things. But I was working 2 days. So I'd do my day in the UAE and then I'd do my day in LA. I found myself drinking a lot. Jack Daniels became a good friend.
Daniel.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
With the Coke, it's even better.
Oh man, yeah. But if you have like a liter
A liter.
every day,
Every day.
yeah.
Wow.
So I was probably what you could describe as an alcoholic. I was big.
No. Okay.
And it became quite lonely. Dubai is a strange place, especially as the white guy. So every 3 years, every 5 years, you'd lose the people that had flown in to work there. So they'd get a contract at Hyundai. 3 years later, they were back in Korea. Or someone from IBM would get a job in Dubai. 3 years later, they were going home. So you'd meet someone, you'd become good friends with them, and then they'd say bye. So it was a very transient country. By which time I now had a second child, and his name was Max. So I had a Charlie and I had a Max, C and M. C and M. So Caffeine Machine kind of was sat there. Let's try England. And then I found this place. It was really bad, it was run down. It needed a lot of work. We opened the doors. By which time I'd spoken to all the people from my agency worlds and my creative worlds, and I'd told them about this place, and they all thought I was mad. But they all said, look, if you do it, we'll come. And then I phoned them up one day and said, we're doing it. And they came. We believe in inclusion, and money doesn't make you special, and everyone is welcome. You know, there's no barrier to entry. And it's been really hard to get people in England and the car community as a whole to believe in that. Just because you have an expensive car does not make you better than the person that has an i10. So true. And that's been the hardest thing.
And also, since you have many experience with people as a salesman, point of sale, career experience, I mean, like how you welcome people, how you do with people is really great, and one of the charm of Caffeine Machine. And that you can feel it once you are here. I mean,
I think the customers enjoy it, Jinsu. I think my employees don't. And then just recruiting people to help. We started with 5 people, and myself and Dan, so 7. We got to a point where there was like 95 people, and it's about to go again because we have new locations. So we're like 7 weeks away from opening a new location, and that will need 50, 60 people. And then the next place will need 50 or 60 people. So it'll very quickly start to become very different to what it started as. And my challenge is to keep it real, right? Keep it soul, yeah. My single love of all of it is the camera, because I can freeze time and I can take the perfect photo, and there's no noise, there's no movement. And I love video, but you can't hang video.
True.
And you can't make video into a book. So yeah, I love photography. And it's what's driven the business. Like the awareness of Caffeine Machine is just pure photography. And that's my story. It makes me incredibly humble that you guys are even here asking these questions. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie.
so now all the puzzles come together after I hear your story. Like it's not just the place, it's more like a platform, and also all of your background, like you are content based, you like photography, so it's not just
It's creative, it's photography, it's content, it's the love affair for life and car, and it's people. The car is, I used to say the car is just a vector. It just gets you from A to B. I don't really care about the car, but I like a car that photos well, because I love motorsport. Like I love a car that drives well. I like all of them, from mid-50s drag racing. Like the coolest car at Goodwood was the beige Mercury LED sled on the Cartier lawn. I don't know whether you saw it. All the other modern stuff, I could leave. Just like, give me that LED sled. And like we have the two Audis at the moment. We have the old R8 and the new R8. Like the old one is just so cool. And can you believe it's 20 years old?
Right.
Yeah.
And then at the time it came out, it's just like a concept car on the road.
Yeah. And the Lotus is beautiful. Really enjoying the Lotus. It's a great car. But then I get home and I just want to drive my 57 Volkswagen Beetle.
57.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll show you some photos. It's cool.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Slammed, and it's like mango green, so it's like this really nice 60s color with toffee leather colored seats, and it's kind of it's built to look like something straight out of Southern California.
And you have the bus, right? Bus too?
Did
Did.
yeah, sold the bus mainly because I realized it was easier to drive somewhere slightly faster and stay in an Airbnb than drive really slowly and then live in the van. So yeah, sadly the van has moved on to the next person to enjoy. Yeah. So my fiance and I just getting on the road again from a mental health perspective. Just like a drive is amazing. I love a big drive. I've done some silly drives. Frankfurt to Dubai. We did it in 25 days, but that was for Cadillac. So that was a creative idea that I sold to Cadillac just because I wanted to do it. It was called Crossing Horizons, and it was to launch the Cadillac ATS, which was their kind of 3 Series size car. I'd do it again. It was amazing. I drove all the way around Saudi Arabia in McLarens.
Yeah.
So every road that Mohammed bin Laden group had built, we drove. Yeah, I wanted to go back and see, because it was the Korean construction companies that built those roads, right?
Yeah.
Which was the other one. And then recently I did England to Ibiza, and I did that in a 50-year-old Porsche. Not a problem.
Not a problem.
These cars are amazing, man.
Yeah, that's true.
If you look after them, they'll keep going. Yeah, 3 nights down, and then 5 nights on the island, and then came home. But the island's tiny, like 20 minutes side to side. But the drive down was phenomenal. Again, I'll show you some photos. I take photos everywhere. Everywhere I go, I take a camera. Shall I show you some photos?
Yeah. Oh, please, yes.
Yeah, come on then. I'll show you on my phone. Old school. So we drove the Lotus from here to Rome and back in 5 days.
In 5 days?
One of my wish list is bring my cars to the Nürburgring,
Yeah.
to the the big ring, and drive it there.
Make it happen. I like the sound of this. You can, if you leave here now, we could be at the Nürburgring in 5.5 hours. So we drive, go to the toilet, have some food, drive again, and we're there. You know, it's easy. This is Darren Turner, who 4-time Le Mans winner with Aston Martin. Yeah, England in autumn is beautiful.
Light is amazing.
Yeah, the light's crazy and the colours are amazing, and like purples and oranges and...
Yesterday we went to Gudud circuit.
Yeah.
That's kind of our ritual, becoming ritual
Yeah.
after Gudud event. And then Singer was doing track day over there.
Yeah, they were filming Chris Harris.
Yeah.
Chris and Neil.
Chris, Mike, Jawa,
Yeah.
and also Rob.
Rob's a cool cat.
Rob was really cool.
Yeah. I've known Rob years, 15 years.
Wow.
So this was the prototype Lotus.
Wow.
Do you know Rio Cam? Have you seen him? He takes photos of sports cars with ladies.
Yeah, I have the brick.
Yeah, so I did
Yeah.
I did my own version. This is Revival.
Revival.
This is back in the UAE. Keep driving, keep going. Meet a camel. Jackie Stewart's car. Jenson Button's car. Lewis Hamilton's car.
These are the photos we take yesterday. He did the photos.
This is nice.
He's such a
Oh,
good
dude, look at these. These fucking ropes.
I think it's...
Like, get rid of the ropes. I want to make a magazine. I want to do a book.
I always want to do a book, magazine, like
Yeah.
a paper.
Have you seen Ramp magazine?
Yeah.
So I met-
subscribe.
Yeah, so I met Michael Cockritz 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and was just like, I want to be like you. Like, this guy's cool,
Right.
and I want to do the same thing.
Surprisingly, there are many new magazines. Like Ramp is quite new, I guess. Magneto.
Yeah.
There are so many new magazines, but they are different
They are.
from like Motor Trend. Or
Oh, yeah,
Motor.
yeah.
So they are still great magazines, but
They've lost their soul a bit.
I see the new trend. I like them because it has art in it, out of car. That's one of my passion as well.
Yeah.
I buy a lot of posters and
Yeah.
follow many artists. Yeah, so someday I want to publish my magazine too.
Yeah.
But you need money and then
Well, So I think I might have something lucky because I've got the community already. So if I can somehow create a loyalty program for all of my customers, maybe they can get the magazine as part of being loyal. So I don't need to. I don't want to advertise. Like I don't want advertising to ruin my magazine. It needs to be true. But I hear you. It's painful. It's difficult, and it's not cheap to print. But it can't be digital. I have to be able to touch it and smell it.
that's the thing.
It cannot be digital. Yeah, that's the challenge. I used to be a big Evo when I was growing up was the one to have. Yeah, the thrill of the drive. It was always the thrill of the drive. But then I just got lost in. I got lost in that kind of this car is better than that car, and all I wanted to know was I took this car and I went to this restaurant and I met this person. Meet a stranger that becomes a friend. Sit by the side of the road and someone would come and talk to me.
And then you guys will become
And then all of a sudden you're friends. That's why the content agency, if you keep the content team small, you make better things. Like some of the best content guys and teams I know are like 3, 4. Yeah, honestly, keep it trim. You can't create with a democracy. You have to be a dictator, and some people don't like that. Yeah, you kind of have to. You can have a yin and a yang. You can have like the ADHD and the paranoid worrier. That makes a really good team. Like Apple was built on that. You know, one person was completely crazy and the other person was calm. And you meet in the middle, but you still have one person that sits above. Yeah, that's the challenge. I don't have my own agency yet, so I want to build an agency again to power everything that I need. That I can just go and do it. So yeah, my next job now is to accelerate content, like be better. You know, we need this. I need to record my podcasts. We don't have a YouTube channel yet. You should produce my YouTube channel for me.
Oh, sure thing.
I want to launch a YouTube channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's high time.
And also, if you develop an agency, you will have production team inside as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's what we do now. Yeah, so I have a writer, I have a photographer. We did have a videographer. I'm the only kind of external help that I have is with the fashion side.
Slogans, like
Yeah.
especially like the "Don't be a dick."
I like it.
Yeah, you need to give me a Korean slogan. I'd love to do one.
I actually loved it, so I bought one.
Nice.
You bought the keyring.
Yeah, I bought the keyring.
We have the cushion in our office.
Yeah.
We have a picture of the beard.
Guys, this is very, very cool. We need to do a KDM night.
Oh. That's why I wanted to contact you earlier. So if there's any possibility that can make special events
Yeah, we can.
during our visiting.
Yeah.
But
You'd be surprised at
yeah,
there's a lot of Korean people in the UK.
right. Right now our channel is kind of small subscriber, but when we have many subscribers,
Yeah, but you could do it to give it a bump. So physical presence will bump digital presence, right? Always, it'll help. I'd love to do KDM. Like the world needs to know about it. It's a cool scene. Just like UAE DM was a thing. You know, Nissan Patrol, big side profile tires, bonnet lifted up a little bit. You know, they had a flavour. But you'll see, you could do an i30, i20 night here, and the place would be full with a few Hyundai coupes floating around. And, But the place would be full. Yeah, you must come. We must do it. Like let's just do it.
yeah. When you like have a plan and have a schedule, let us know. We can fly in just for that night. That's really
Because we were talking to Hyundai about doing I wanted to go to Korea. I wanted to do an immersive trip, and I always when I used to go to LA a lot, like K-Town was an easy spot to go and have some fun, and just loved it. Yeah, and I've never been to Korea. So yeah, it's high on my agenda. We definitely need to do a Korean trip. You guys need to take me out and get me drunk.
And you should definitely come to Korea.
Yeah, make it happen. You're thinking, aren't you? So you fly home tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow.
So were you with the Porsche?
Yeah, two Porsche, the Cayenne and 911. We just rented for this trip.
Man, Porsche Korea should have sorted you out, no?
Someday.
Someday.
Yeah, because we could make content. I mean, one of my dream is to make global content.
Yeah.
From Korea.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be shoot in Korea, but still we want to make content for Porsche Global. That's one of my dream and goal.
Cool. Okay. Do they sell many Porsches in Korea? Is it a big market?
Yeah, it is big market.
It is big. It is big.
There's no singers though.
No singer.
No singer.
Yeah.
No singer.
You need to be the first guy, man.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you.
Thank you. My honor to talking with
No,
you.
my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.